There are times when the data that you wish to bind does not match the display you wish to use. Let's create an application called Data Converter Demo and take a look at what you can do under those conditions. We begin by recreating our employee class. This time, and most significant, we've added a start date of type datetime. We still have the name and the title and the property change event handler. Let's return to our view, and all we wish to do is to display the name, title, and start date. So we'll create an outer stack panel and then an inner stack panel with our name and title as we've seen before. Now let's create a third inner stack panel to hold the start date. The prompt is the same. It's a text block. It says start date. And then we're going to add a second text block. Give it a small margin on the left to leave a little bit of room. Set the height and width. And we're going to set the text to bind to the start date, but this time we want to add a converter. We don't want the start date to just display as a datetime would if we hit toString. We want to take control of that. And so we're going to add a class to our solution we'll call dateConverter. dateConverter will implement the interface iValueConverter. First thing we need to do is add the necessary using statement, but now we can also ask the interface to stub out the required members. And you can see that there are two required members for iValueConverter, a method convert and a method convert back. Each of them takes four properties: the value, the target type, a parameter, and a cultural intro object. Convert is very simple. We're going to take the value and convert it to a datetime, and then we're going to call toString with the formatting that we like. For convert back, we're going to parse the string and attempt to turn it into a datetime object. We can save that. To begin, we need to set a local namespace, which we will set to the namespace for this application. We can then create a Windows Resources section, and in that, using the local namespace, we find dateConverter. That's the class we just created, and we'll create a key for that dateConverter, which we will call dateConverter. That creates a resource that points to our dateConverter. We can now come down to our text block, and what we're going to do is to set the converter equal to the static resource that we just created, dateConverter. Run the application. And the reason we have no date or entry is that we have not set up the data context. In this particular case, we have not created the getEmployee object, so we will instantiate a new employee object, and we will pass into the constructor the first name, the title, and a datetime object for the start date, which in this case will be July 10th of 2001. We can now set our data context to that employee object, run the application, and this time we do see the name, the title, and a properly formatted start date. And that date is formatted properly because of the dateConverter we created.